My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. It is currently 12:41 a.m. on Saturday, September 28, 2024. I'm going to document what is ongoing lying in wait group stalking with the demons that are pacing inside of 55, license 5WUV715. Is group stalking with the demon in the middle of the parking lot with a white Civic. They've got their hazard lights on. They are there to engage in a molestation, 8VPH437. They're stalking in the path, and in perfect alignment is, again, the people of the state that are group stalking also with the method of light activity. This is, again, at 12:41. The demons that are tracking your steps under a fake sun are also tracking my steps with regard to the engineered light that you'll see, where the demon inside of apartment number 55 is engaged in ongoing psychotic pacing, which is amplified in volume, and 9BYS223 is group stalking with them together. Capturing images of demonic pacing. Again, you'll see the demon with the white Civic. They're driving out after lying in wait, waiting for me to walk out of the parking lot. That's 8VPH437. Okay, group. Okay, with the hazard lights on, that's 8VPH437, and my shadow is to the side of me, in front of me. They're group stalking in relevant position at the 711 636 North Vine Avenue. And this is, again, Uber. This is an Asian male engaging in state surveillance. This is an Uber or Lyft. This is a commercial actor engaging in state surveillance. This is what the same thing they're doing under the fake sun, coming onto the property, and molesting as one. Molesting also 7LLG838, license 5PWZ767. This is the people of the state engaged in state surveillance with the Ontario Police under the fake sun that's present at this one property for 11 hours. This is at nightfall, an engineered light, the same engineered light, and the entity is engaging in what is a sex offense, keeping a woman under surveillance as a population. These are demons that are engaging in this demonic P.O.C. as one. And the demon inside of 55, license 5WUV715, is manning most of the amplified audible activity that's being maintained as she is group stalking, engaging in criminal activity, criminal surveillance, and federal stalking. Also, the Criminal Act to obstruct justice. Pursuant to federal stalking conduct. This is the demon, the psychopath, the sex offender, somebody that is mentally deranged with a demon on them, engages in more of that psychotic criminal activity. It's amplified in volume, and the activity continues. And currently, speaking to what the entity does at nightfall, this demon is maintaining the main means of amplified audible activity. And this is the population as I walk out, maintaining elements of monitoring. Again, the demon with the, this is the Asian male driving that white vehicle that I documented. They are in relevant position, waiting, maintaining a method of light activity that's being aimed in the parking lot. This is a demon, and that's terrorism by an entity that's exhibiting demon possession. That's the pattern of conduct being in the path with a method of light. In the engineered environment is how you're recognizing the fact that that's someone that is openly engaged in group stalking. The identical pattern of conduct remains underway. They're doing so with their hazard lights on, and as I begin documenting the license plate, the demon begins moving the vehicle, which is monitoring conduct, going back into the entrance where another demon just hops in the vehicle. This is Uber, Lyft, or by the way, it's any demon, doesn't even have to be Uber or Lyft, because just getting in your vehicle maintains the appearance as though you're a commercial actor. It's not different from Amazon Prime. Whether it's some demon that is coming onto the grounds, because that's what the population is doing, just hopping in another demon's vehicles because they're group stalking together, or it is actually somebody that's being paid while doing so under the guise of a business where the pattern of conduct is also underway. That third party is engaged in state surveillance and federal stalking. It's a sex offense, molesting with engineered light, also acting with impunity in concert with the demon that is inside of 55, maintaining ongoing amplified audible activity. As I'm walking around in the apartment, the demon is engaging in conduct as though she's doing cartwheels, jumping up and down, dropping bowling balls, ongoing amplification as though the ceiling is crashing cracking while she's walking back and forth. And by I mean, I want to be clear, the sound of pacing that's as though it's reminiscent of the ceiling cracking. That's impossible audible activity in engineered light. I'm capturing the specific environment on the inside of the apartment. This is W.S.A, the people, the document, the PDF that I'm sharing on a daily basis with regard to the civil and criminal prosecution of the state of California as the elements of monitoring the system is underway at Woodside Senior Apartments in Ontario, California. This is a P.O.C. that a population is engaging in together. License 8JGA109. Going on to surveillance cameras at 636 North Vine Avenue, the 7-Eleven, who's engaged in state surveillance as well. And I've been documenting the entire population as I'm remaining at Woodside Senior, so don't miss that. 5PWZ767, license 4LTC526, license 7NSY150, 88091Z2, 7WON118, 9NJB782, 7MSL276. Group stalking in relevant position to my person with the method of light. That's a demon at the opposite end of Fern Avenue. This is a population that is indeed engaging in the identical pattern of conduct. And this is all ongoing terrorism by the state that is filled with demons who are keeping you under surveillance. 8GLE030 is group stalking with that demon in relevant position as I'm identifying a license plate. They're the same entity while another demon whose license plate I can't see are engaging in the same exact criminal activity. Understand how you're going to surround an entity that is targeting you with evidence while they're engaging in teamwork conduct. CG91M60, that's paper. 6USF779. 7PNU359. And the entity is parked in the middle of the parking, in the middle of the parking lot, as though they're a security guard. They are a malicious state actor, acting commercially. And Woodside Senior Apartments is, again, AVANATH Communities, another a malicious company whose vendors, employees, residents, and those that are engaged in any sort of commercial business while the pattern of conduct is underway. And that's the license, reflecting the license plate that's in the middle of that parking lot. I documented that as well. That's showing malice of the people. 54941V3. There is no legitimate business ongoing that is occurring in the specific environment. That's an entity that is profiting while conspiring to murder and kidnap an American citizen whom they are group stalking. All right. So I want to be clear. It is currently 12:48 a.m. and this is just capturing the population that is in relevant position, monitoring with the demon that is group stalking by virtue of being in relevant position inside of apartment number 55, 6YOX838, license plate 6XXT119. This is the same population where I captured day in and day out while I was sleeping in the vehicle. There was no sunrise that would be adjacent to the pool at Woodside Senior Apartment. It was very particular to being through the window of the vehicle that I slept in on Fern Avenue and G Street. Okay, same area. It's right across the street outside of the apartment complex. But that is not what you will see in the videos. This is why you document Satan and expose demonic activity. The fake sun is rising in the same place where the Ontario police were also concentrating their group stalking and demonic pacing in helicopters over the vehicle where I was at, as opposed to for example, remaining over the Ontario Museum of History and Arts where I would sleep there. That's where they were concentrating their helicopter activity at nightfall in the same exact specific environment, because that's where the sun was rising when I was sleeping at the Ontario Museum of History and Arts. This is already evidence that's on the record. This population is group stalking me while I'm inside of the Woodside Senior Apartments, and you know that because all of what is supposed to be the natural environment, and it's clearly not, is over Woodside Senior Apartments, and so is all the population of a demon-possessed entity that is indeed engaged in state surveillance. 7RSM406 is a paper plate on a white BMW. I have two shadows in front of me. 6W53229, that's engineered light. They are all engaged in surveillance every day, every night that I'm capturing Ontario police. I'm capturing the people of the state. The entire population is going to be prosecuted for federal group stalking and monitoring. That's state surveillance, and it's also occurring on the internet. 8T08021. That's how you have absolute strangers driving down the street. They all know what you're doing on at all moments, and so you'll have anyone that is capable of maintaining presence on behalf of the whole entity. All right, so this is what an entity does. It may or may not be an actual commercial actor, Lyft and Uber, as I was stating. It's any person that's getting onto the grounds and wanting to appear as though it's some business. And the entity is, again, it doesn't matter what you're doing. If you are a business, then I'm going to drain your pockets. If you're not a business, you will be equally prosecuted. This is what the demons do, though, wanting to appear as though they're doing something, and all they look like are demons who are group stalking. This is the entity that's already caught up in a cycle of documentation. 31874V2. That is a truck that's parked on Fern. And I've documented this neighborhood very often. Fake sun, helicopter following me as I would walk to the Obafemi Community Library. This is where the entity was concentrating commercial plane activity. This is already on the record while the entity is now engaging in the pattern of flying over Woodside Senior Apartments. As I advance into the apartments, that's where the planes are. When I was sleeping in the vehicle on Fern and G Street, the planes, as I stated, are to the left of my person, so they were behind me, if you will, not flying in front over the Woodside Senior Apartments. That's how you're recognizing also targeting using commercial airline planes, which Alan D. WAPNER, a demon, a corrupt government actor, is fully aware of the pattern of conduct while you're using commercial airline planes, flying over senior citizen complexes, doing so with regard to knee-jerk kind of conduct. Any subtle movement that I make, the moment that I begin documenting the Ontario International Airport or any other aspect of the entity, immediately, with simultaneity, meaning you were already there to engage in that sort of stalking with activity conduct, which is demonic. 9LMY171, 9KXT925. It is in conformity to the pattern of conduct. Okay, a whole airport is committed to the pattern of conduct, and so is this demon in apartment number 55, and she's engaging in conduct on behalf of the entire state of California, having no constitutionally protected presence while she pays rent. That provides no legal basis for the state to engage in surveillance with her, and that's exactly what the Ontario Police Department are doing, which is why they're stalking at the Woodside Senior Apartments, flying over my apartment pursuant to a P.O.C. And you know that they're stalking me because I'm documenting a pattern of a fake sun remaining over me everywhere that I'm going for the duration of the day. No matter what point in the day, that fake sun is no longer covered up by clouds. This is not the operation of the natural environment nor weather. This is speaking to malice by the demon-possessed entity, Satan himself, as his conduct is being exposed as I'm prosecuting it and speaking to your ability to identify demon possession and demonic activity, which is criminal in the U.S. 5 VSS 464. At 409 West G Street, license 6JRN991. At 411 West G Street. They were molesting the other day when I was walking outside. They're engaged in the P.O.C. right now as well. 7TKU350, 7AEA653. Documenting on several occasions, not only kidnapping, that 7-Eleven, group stalking with the Ontario Police. They were engaged in kidnapping with the Ontario Police, with whom they're monitoring with. And the entity engaging in terrorism by helicopter at this 7-Eleven. And the entity is engaged in group stalking right now. The 636 North Vine Avenue is where this 7-Eleven is located, and they have been engaged in profiting while engaged in the elements of monitoring 7-Eleven. In other words, it's not a legitimate business. They are engaged in surveillance. It's not based on the time when or the date when 7-Eleven is there or the time where it's based on actually my arrival, because fake sun, the specific environment, comes as I come, and the fake sun goes with me as I leave. And that's recognizing surveillance. License 5JRG877, and if those aren't natural born citizens, they're going to be deported. License plate 5JXX567. Demonic pacing, not traffic, on Vine and G Street. All right, 8FVB068. And if I recall correctly, those are the demons that live in apartment 41, and they're going to federal prison. All right, they're group stalking with minor children as well, and they're routinely engaged in surveillance with OPD, 9CBV120. And here's the entity that's group stalking in helicopter. Everybody I just documented is going to federal prison. Are you the security guard here? Yeah. Oh, what company are you?
Ninja Security.
I'm sorry?
Ninja Security.
Engine Security?
Ninja.
Ninja?
Yeah. Yeah.
Ninja, okay. Ninja Security's group stalking with Ontario PD. The license plate, this appears to be an African-American male or olive-skinned male, perhaps Indian. I'm not sure what his race is, but this is license 9BYS223. I want you to hear the entity flying over by plane. Right over the top of my head. While Ninja Security.
What's going on?
What is going on?
No, I was just wondering, like...
This is audible activity and light activity. Have a good night. That's P.O.C. with the state that's flying over by... Yes, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
You're securing, right?
Yes, I am.
Oh, you're securing while engaging in the elements of monitoring with the people of the state and accessing his vehicle as light activity. He is group stalking with the state that just flew over with amplified audible activity. This is what 55 is doing while I remain in the apartment. So I just want you to recognize malice. He's going to federal prison. 9BYS223 is his license plate. License. You know who Tracy Banks is? She's group stalking inside of apartment 51 with the rest of the population, including OPD 9HUZ740. License 7X82385, UCRISLA, DJ87B31 paper, DJ72V85 paper. 8FAF 951, JZ 706, handicap. So I just want to be clear, the entity engaged in with Ninja Security, he's going to federal prison. The entity is engaging in terrorism via aircraft. This is where the entity is flying over by commercial airline planes and helicopter. You just heard the amplified plane activity while a demon is in a uniform, in engineered light, at the property where the fake sun is present for 11 plus hours. Those are the elements of monitoring, while Ninja Security with that license plate is engaged in the P.O.C. In your face. That's an intolerable threat. Okay, and the entity is doing so while you're documenting the entity, also the intolerable threat. License 325 LMH, that's Oregon, 8GEN 638. And Ninja Security is continuously molesting. It's not traffic, it's not headlights, it's engineered light, and they're touching all over my legs, my body, without any consent. And that's a sex offense committed also by that company, who's also engaged in federal stalking. License 7PWU252, 8PSB005, 9LOF371, 8MUB992. And Ninja is engaged in harassment and terrorism with that demon in apartment number 55, while the entity is group stalking and incessantly engaging in harassment and terrorism as she's monitoring. She acts as the entity. The entity is monitoring through this demon that lives in 55. Understand that. And the entity is doing so while I document it, and doing so pursuant to a documented pattern. All night long, this demon maintains amplified audible activity in the specific environment on behalf of the state who just flew over my head in the specific environment pursuant to the P.O.C. with amplified plane activity. 7FMD286. 6YOZ533, 9EXJ932, that's audible activity monitoring. 077XV handicap. 17671M3, 9HRS967. This whole population that you hear on these license plates, the 144 units at Woodside Senior Apartments, this is impunity as you are listening to the ongoing elements. These elderly people do not care about going to federal prison, because if they did, they would cease to engage in it. And they are not, which is the P.O.C., the mental illness of those who are obsessively keeping you under surveillance in the U.S. 7LLG838, 8GIX018, 9CKS542, 7YEH777, 6GBB673. And 7-Eleven's pattern of conduct is to have a large truck make a delivery. That's a demon, first of all, a commercial actor. Second of all, third of all, you're looking at engineered light where you're making a delivery in the specific environment using that truck as a method of light activity and audible activity like you just heard. 7-Eleven is engaging in criminal conduct on their surveillance cameras, their business records. All of this will be produced. You're going to drain their pockets and criminally prosecute them. They're a malicious state actor, not a legitimate business exercising any privacy rights. 549TA handicap. They're in relevant position engaged in state surveillance. 7VCK397, 6EHL971. It is unlawful to profit while you're engaged in the conspiracy with the state to murder and kidnap someone, and that's what 7-Eleven is doing based on their engagement and maintaining relevant position under a fake sun that's over the Woodside Senior Apartments across the street from them, meaning they're in relevant position, which is surveillance, not a legitimate business. It's P.O.C. 5WUB715, 4UXU258, 8934U handicap, 5ADH957, and JPOWERS. Alrighty, it is currently 12:59 a.m. Documenting again the third party in particular. I want to be clear, the demon who's acting on behalf of the entire entity is both Tracy Banks, while she remains a relevant position. That is group stalking, that is criminal surveillance in the location where you live or pay rent. You don't have any basis, there's no exception or some sort of removal from criminal liability. You're recognizing the malicious system that the government uses the constituents of the state to engage in the P.O.C. The fake sun is over where you live. You're going to be prosecuted based on the identification of criminal surveillance on behalf of the state. That's why the fake sun is remaining over the senior citizen complex. License 5WUB715 is the correct license plate. 5WUV is the license plate I documented last night, by the way. So I just want to make sure you document that. Any change to the license plate? Bye. Have a good one. He's just pacing around with light activity. 9BYS223, that's a Toyota Camry. All right, and this is light activity while he's pacing an engineered light in the specific environment with the state who's relying on that criminal activity. It's very malicious, and it's a demon. And he's monitoring while this demon in 55 is pacing around. The entity is maintaining presence in the sky space at all times. And the entity just engaged in hovering over in an audible manner in sky space. The entity maintains stationary surveillance. I've documented this for years, what the entity is doing with regards to stalking in the sky space and planes and helicopters. All right. Again, I want to be clear. Any criminal acts to avoid being identified, such as changing your license plate, she's going to federal prison even longer. 5WUV 715 is what was documented. 5WUB as in boy is what the license plate shows today. P.O.C. It is currently 1:01 a.m. Alrighty, this is documentation of harassment by the entity that is utilizing the demon. This is a psychopath and a sex offender, a terrorist that's group stalking with a police department. That's the Ontario Police Department, who have the same exact condition. These are demons that are engaging in domestic terrorism stalking, and it's group stalking. It's a demonic condition. While this demon is engaging in the entity, that's what this demon represents, who's engaging in pacing pursuant to what I do on a communication device and what I do physically. So this is documentation of what is harassment by a demon-possessed entity who was group stalking while maintaining criminal presence inside of apartment number 55. And at 1:19 a.m., I took a picture of what it is that I'm doing on my laptop, because this is the moment when I am trying to upload specifically the Google Drive access, which is a link in my podcast where you can see all the evidence captured for the day. And as I'm in the process of looking at it on my phone versus accessing it on my laptop, when I'm engaged in that specific operation at the same time, the simultaneity of conduct is how demons are targeting through their timing, targeting through their location, targeting with regard to the activity creation as you do whatever it is that you do, when you're doing it, where you're doing it. In other words, that's the entity that's group stalking. And so the entity is engaging in harassment and terrorism, psychological torture as an entity engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring. And it is occurring at this moment at 1:19 a.m. at the moment that I am in the process of literally uploading evidence to be used against this entity, including the demon with license plates 5WU Victor 715 and 5WU Boy 715. This demon is engaging in what is extraordinarily loud. And I want to be clear, I'm also listening to music that's at a high volume, and this is how loud the entity is engaging. It's amplification. That's how you know that it's targeting, because it's impossible audible activity. And also you know that it's targeting based on what you're doing as you do it, and the targeting conduct occurs. You also know that it's targeting because the fake sun is remaining for 11 hours at the property in alignment to me. You also know that it's targeting because this is where the state is stalking and helicopters flying over me. And this is what a demon is doing on behalf of the whole entity. And this is impunity. And when this demon is sending before a federal judge, she's going to federal prison. And this is why I detail the criminal conduct, because at that point is when it will be individualized. This psychopath is acting on behalf of the entire state while I'm inside of the apartment. Remember, OPD isn't physically inside. OPD is inside vicariously. OPD represents, again, the state of California. What OPD is doing is what LAPD was doing in LA. What LAPD and Ontario PD are doing is what San Diego PD were doing in San Diego. It's the same entity. And the entity is acting through this demon. Remember, Tracy Banks remains in a relevant position on the opposite side of the wall, group stalking and terrorizing, psychologically torturing with the rest of the entire population. That malice is not going to be missed at their federal prosecutions, respectively. Okay, so the entity is engaging in conduct as though you're dropping a bowling ball. It's so loud that I'm being disturbed when I'm listening to music on my headphones at a high volume as well. So it's not like I'm listening to rain pitter patter, and I'm listening to music that is loud. And the demon goes to the extent to engage in amplified volume of demonic conduct. This is seeking to terrorize you. This is a demon that is hostile anger, and that anger is not only reasonably construed, but demons are literally engaging in showing you hostility by loud conduct that occurs as you move your arm. Boom. All right, that's a demon that's trying to target you, harass you, psychologically torture you. This is what this demon is doing while she is foolishly engaging in criminal conduct with a license plate that everybody in the world can recite and also see her image. This is a demon that is 5'7". She's got bleach blonde hair. She's approximately perhaps maybe 175, maybe 180 pounds. She's tall, but she is under no circumstances 700 pounds whatsoever. And neither is her walking going to create the sound of a cracking ceiling. This is in conformity to the pattern of conduct, however. And it's also under all circumstances, amplified audible activity. The entity is amplifying everything. The entity is demon possessed. Amplification is a demonic feature within the pattern of conduct. And why is it amplified? Because all the demons surrounding are also engaging in criminal surveillance, group stalking, maintaining ongoing presence and light activity while noise remains around you. This is pursuant to the inherently harassing and terrorizing pattern of conduct. While an entity is stalking with noise, while an entity is stalking you with light, while an entity is stalking you everywhere that you're going as a population, which you can see because that which is never the natural environment, it's not possibly the natural environment, it remains over you, which is where a population is group stalking you. And this is what's occurring inside of 55 while I'm in 51. And this demon is maintaining presence on behalf of the state, and she's going to federal prison for that. This is documentation of impunity that AVANATH communities, that's AVANATH Capital Management LLC specifically, who's headquartered in Irvine, California, will be compensating for. This is what it's criminal activity. It's unlawful, and it is against public policy for the entity that is engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring. And you are, while your employees are engaging in criminal activity, there will be liability based on the criminal conduct that your employees are engaging in with the state. You are also engaged in that state pattern of conduct when you are in the state, and you are also in the specific environment. Okay, and that's exactly the headquarters of AVANATH Capital Management LLC. They're in the specific environment in Irvine, California. Okay, they are being documented, and they will be subject to a civil and criminal prosecution. While a terrorist is living on their grounds, engaging in the state's pattern of conduct, doing so with impunity, with real-time knowledge. In other words, ceaseless knowledge that not only is it being documented, not only are they going to federal prison for it, but at no turn do they ever engage in demonstrating that they sought to not go to federal prison, for example, even though that's not possible. You're going to federal prison. But perhaps I don't want to go to federal prison for 5 years. Perhaps the initials, just giving you an example, but the entity is engaging in conduct that is seeking to an ongoing enhancement to federal charges, sentencing, and damages. Okay. The entity is doing so, and all manner of targeting is already established. You're not doing anything innocent while you're living in relevant position. Even if this demon was silent and the entity is maintaining amplified audible activity through the train, she is equally engaged in state surveillance. This is an unintelligent demon who's stalking under a fake sun, living at a crime scene where it's very easy to document, and it's even more so easy to document because she's engaged in ceaseless amplified audible activity. A mentally deranged psychopath who will be subject to mental examinations pursuant to what all the rest of the entity that's demon possessed subject to prosecution. They're in need of mental examinations. This is part of what of recuperating a mentally ill population, okay, who are a threat to each other and themselves. The entity is engaging in this conduct with knowledge that it's being documented and engages in a criminal act of terrorism. It is terrorism while an entity increases and continues its criminal activity to keep you under surveillance, and then with the intent to obstruct justice, because in other words, you're mad because you're being documented. You're hostile to an American citizen enforcing their constitutional rights to be free from your sexually perverted pattern of conduct that is entirely illegitimate, unlawful, and inexplicable, as you are also a demon doing so. This is all relevant to what is terrorizing the ordinary target individual, and you're going to be prosecuted for that. And the entity is acting through you, and the entity is also AVANATH Capital Management, who will be compensating for that. So I want to document that. That is, again, the entity was simultaneous to my accessing and operating my laptop while I am in the process of uploading my podcast, uploading the details to edit it. This demon, while I am listening to music that is at a high volume on my headphones at 1 o'clock in the morning, clearly engaging in conduct that is targeting through all the ways in which you are aware of targeting that demons do, and also by virtue of doing so at such a loud volume so that this demon can be sure that I hear it. Okay, this is speaking to the pattern of conduct. I want to be clear: Tracy Banks is equally hostile and maliciously engaged in that pattern of conduct, which is a threat to my life, which is relevant to the criminal and civil prosecution of the entire entity. It is currently 1:28 a.m. This is P.O.C. All right, it is currently 7:03 p.m. This is documentation, and based on what the Ontario Police Department is engaging in right now, I'm going to go ahead and add the video podcast regarding the specific environment and the documentation, what I've also subject to the entity that's engaged in the perpetual sex offense. So as of right now, 7:03 p.m., Mike LORENZ, this is a corrupt government actor. He's currently engaged in criminal conduct in the state of California. Public corruption is occurring. He's engaged in it. The Ontario Police Department is engaging in it, and it is the state's P.O.C. And as I am capturing screenshots of my videos being published onto the internet, which while I remain subject to criminal surveillance in violation of Title 18, Section 2261A, subsections 1 and 2, and this is specifically targeting what I am doing and group stalking me where I am at as opposed to any other person. I am indeed targeted while the entity is keeping the specific environment, as I have also shown the identification of criminal surveillance by a public entity. This is public corruption that a government is engaging in with the very people of the state, and notably it is demonic activity. So right now I'm capturing podcasts because the entity is engaged in terrorism in concert with Tracy Banks, who's engaged in relevant positioning inside of apartment number 51 at 408 West G Street in Ontario, California. She is group stalking and engaging in surveillance and psychological torture with the Ontario Police Department in concert with the Caucasian female who was at least 55, living at a senior citizen complex, engaged in state surveillance and federal stalking, and the ongoing pattern of conduct seeking to engage in ongoing harassment and terrorism, intimidation and retaliation. With the entity that is stalking in helicopters while group stalking inside of apartment number 55 at 408 West G Street in Ontario, California. Her license plate again is 5WU Victor 715. And I've also seen again 5WU B as in boy 715. I'm noting both because any deviation from the license plate, she's going to federal prison regardless. But any criminal acts of obstruction of justice trying to hide your identity, altering license plates, which the entity that's monitoring evidence engages in such foolishness, which is also going to be shown, you're going to federal prison for even longer. But nonetheless, they are engaged in relevant positioning, the demon in 51, the demon in 55, that's directly above and directly inside of the apartment where you are looking at the maintenance. My documentation is showing impossible light activity remains in this apartment. The fake sun remains in alignment to me inside of this apartment at one apartment complex for over 11 hours. That is the unmistakable targeting that is stalking by a police department who arrives in helicopter at the moment I begin uploading videos onto YouTube, which is the internet. And this is speaking to the pattern of conduct pursuant to federal stalking that the Ontario Police is also engaged in while they are criminally group stalking, which is demonic activity practiced by a corrupt police department. They are actually a terrorist organization, which Mike LORENZ is of the same condition and is fully aware of the criminal conduct that the entity is using helicopters to engage in. He's not ignorant about that. So I want to document that. That's what's occurring right now. So I'm immediately capturing podcasts because I have a plethora of not only from 2024 as I've been here for the past couple of weeks, but I have a body of evidence showing that that's exactly what the Ontario Police Department is doing. As I state that they're stalking in helicopter, I have hundreds of videos of them stalking me in helicopter, and that's not hyperbolic. I have years of evidence of terrorism by the Ontario Police. This is a terrorist organization, and they're facing disbanding. And this is federal imprisonment for a large portion of that corrupt terrorist organization masquerading as a police department. Many of them are going to federal prison, and the entity is engaging in what is keeping me under surveillance while I'm inside of a facilitating venue, not a private residence, where state surveillance, speaking to everything being made public as opposed to private. That's a perpetual sex offense that I'm also want to make sure that I'm documenting because I captured it in screenshots. It's exposing what the entity is maintaining presence in the immediate environment. The entity is acting, engaging in criminal and demonic teamwork with regard to elements that an entity is maintaining together. So the immediate environment is that which is maintained on behalf of the whole state. That's why when I leave from Woodside Senior Apartments, there's no longer a sun that is stationary for 11 plus hours, which again is not the sun. That's why it's referred to as the fake sun, as the light source. The light source is no longer stationary over me at apartment 51. It moves as I move. That's showing that that whole population, the state is stalking. Okay. And that's shown as I've shown in conformity to the pattern of conduct. So this is the entity that's engaged in terrorism. So that is again, Tracy Banks is engaged in terrorism and harassment with the criminal purpose of obstructing justice, while she is engaged in federal stalking in violation of Title 18. And she's already engaged in criminal surveillance, group stalking, which is a very serious terrorist act, representing the state of California, living at a crime scene, which is a basis of nothing less than federal prison. And she's been engaged in this system for years. She represents the entity. She's not a private actor. She is a third party. You're not a private citizen engaged in a pattern of conduct. And that's why the entity is flying over her apartment that I'm inside of, which is in the specific environment, at the moment I began publishing videos onto YouTube, which is exactly what I took a screenshot of. All right. And the evidence supporting the fact that that's exactly what the Ontario Police Department are doing, because this is what they're always doing. And this is exactly what they're doing in a very specific environment, which is narrowing down what is not ambiguous or broad whatsoever. The fact that a police department is stalking an American citizen in helicopters. So the entity does so, and in doing so, it's also revealing their mental illness, because the entity has never stopped me from uploading and publishing the evidence. And so they are, again, for the 2000th time, if you will, doing so as though it's going on this date to stop me from publishing evidence of their criminal conduct while I'm in a different state, while I'm in a different county. I am prosecuting the state of California, including the demons of the Ontario Police Department, including the demons at Woodside Senior Apartments. Okay, this is why the entity is interested in what it is that I'm publishing, even though I haven't even gotten up to Woodside Senior Apartments for 2024, because I'm exposing the entire state. And the entity is engaging in the identical pattern of conduct, which is what I documented on the document entitled WSA-The People. And while I'm downloading my videos from the Google Drive in order to upload them onto YouTube, this is where I'm documenting. You will see 542, 543, 550, 45 minute by minute, and in increasingly elevated manner. The entity is engaging ongoing amplification and sensational activity. The demons, who are the people of the state, they're practicing the same exact demonic behavioral pattern, which is, to put succinctly and in layman's terms, demons are just maintaining presence all around you and in special light and with ongoing noise. So the noise is amplified. It's at an abnormally loud volume. The noise also occurs pursuant to what you do as you do it, wherever it is that you're doing. It's concentrated in sound and volume wherever you're at. And it also occurs with simultaneity to what you physically do and also what you do on communication devices. This is what demons are doing. It's the same character, the same timing, the same central placement regarding where you're at, regarding light activity, and they are always maintaining presence all around you. And so as I documented in the PDF, speaking to the damages that the people of the state, AVANATH Capital Management, will be civilly and criminally liable for, you'll be prosecuted. They're being documented engaged in the criminal activity while they are the real property owner for where state surveillance is underway, and they're also profiting. So they're going to be criminally and civilly prosecuted. Nonetheless, the entity is doing so while ongoing amplification is documented in this document. And I'm literally going minute by minute as I document amplified audible activity. It's impossible to hear the ceiling cracking while you are walking across the living room. And not only that, the demon in number 55 is doing so on a ceaseless basis, pursuant to the same pattern. As I upload videos onto the internet, immediately the well-documented pattern of stalking in helicopters occurs in a specific environment with simultaneity to my beginning to upload. In the same manner, the same demonic behavioral pattern by a demon-possessed person living at the property, where AVANATH Capital Management will compensate for the harms, tangible and intangible, suffered on its real property, where criminal activity that it is being documented as engaging in by its employees, by its residents, by the vendors, and by those that have no connection to the property other than to be in relevant position, having nothing other than engaging in criminal elements monitoring. They can state they were picking someone up. They can say they were dropping someone off. They could say they were operating a business, taking someone, for example, Lyft or Uber. That's speaking to the basis for civil and criminal prosecution. It's treated as an admission for criminal presence. They're not free to engage in any of it. This is a malicious system of surveillance, and it is an admission to engaging in domestic terrorism. Very foolish. And the entity does so while they know that they're being documented. That's revealing a very severe mental illness, besides the fact that you are group stalking, which is very psychotic behavior that human beings don't want to be known. And certainly Satan doesn't want you to know that he's engaging in it and using the government, the state of California, and the very constituents of the state. Satan doesn't want that to be known. And when I'm referencing Satan, I'm referencing the demon-possessed. And Satan is using the Ontario Police Department. Satan is using the elderly community of Woodside Senior Apartments, who represent the state of California, employing the identical pattern of conduct pursuant to these same demonic features. And in the document entitled WSA-The People, as I am downloading videos from my Google Drive where I store evidence, the entity begins the hyper creation of amplified audible activity. So as I document amplification, which is speaking to intent, you're walking across the living room does not cause the ceiling to crack. Okay, the entity, the ongoing creation of booming sounds, sensational, meaning vibrating the apartment, and amplified noise, which nobody is ever complaining about. In the same way that flying in helicopters over a senior citizen community by a police department, day and night, all hours of the day and night, is something that a senior citizen complex has no qualms with. In the same way that the entity that's outside of zoning provisions has commercial airline planes such as Southwest Airlines that I documented this evening, while the fake sun is at the same address, Woodside Senior Apartments in Ontario. There is the senior citizen complex is not under any circumstances complaining about that, which is a clear, substantial disruption, a violation of their quiet enjoyment. Demons are not interested in these things because they're engaged in the same pattern of conduct, which is what I'm documenting in the PDF document, WSA-the People, where minute by minute, as I'm downloading evidence, my videos, the demons engage in a pickup and amplified audible activity pursuant to what I do. So as I document amplified audible activity, the demons are not only monitoring because they're engaged in monitoring evidence. As you're operating internet, the elements of monitoring are working to keep you under surveillance regarding your activity online and on a communication device. And so this amplified audible activity is it's not naturally occurring. The fake sun is there, it's audible activity, period. The fake sun is there and amplified audible activity, you are group stalking. You are engaging in federal stalking on the internet, on a communication device. And remember, the ongoing pattern of conduct is underway. So you're doing it under the fake sun, engineer light, the entity stalking in helicopters and planes. There's no mistake. So you're looking at the demonic behavioral pattern by the population, the people of the state. And there's no exception regarding those that are 55 and older, as you have seen at Alvarado Gardens. Okay. Demons walking around on walkers, equally going to burn in hell if they do not repent and turn from their wicked ways, which is resulting in criminal prosecutions of a federal nature. Okay, so the entity is engaging in conduct amongst the elderly population at Woodside Senior in Ontario, and they're engaging in ongoing group stalking presence in the path that's criminal, while they are living at an elderly complex in Ontario where the sun is rising and setting. That's over 11 hours, one location, one address. It's rising and setting at one address. That's the P.O.C. That's also letting you know these are demons who are group stalking at an elderly complex where the entity is flying over in a helicopter at the same time. So the demons are engaging in terrorism and harassment, ongoing boom, 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 and as though the ceiling is cracking, while the demon in 55 in particular remains in relevant position in the apartment above my head, and the demon inside of a 51 who was threatening my life and staying inside of this apartment group stalking me and revealing severe mental illness in doing so. Literally the operation of the microwave, walking to and from the cabinet, the trash can in the kitchen, entering the kitchen, going to the refrigerator. All of this is a means of a psychopath to monitor, as opposed to being actually thirsty and actually wanting to get something to eat. In the same way, the demon in apartment number 55, she's not focused on anything other than group stalking. This is speaking to the obsession of the demon possessed who are group stalking you. And it's very severely mentally deranged to engage in the system. You are already exposed as a mentally ill person. And this is just exposing their secret criminal conduct. You're understanding that that's also revealed when you are getting in helicopters and stalking one person. You are not normal. There is something very mentally deranged about you, and the entity seeks to do this in secret. I have exposed what the criminal system in California is and what it looks like, and how the demon possessed behave, and it's revealing what is malice. And so this is an ongoing perpetual threat to my life. It's creating what is also the perpetual sex offense, and this is also what I documented inside of the private space. And so I'm just going to go through that iteration of the pattern of conduct, which is sexually violent. And this is where the entity is maintaining the elements of monitoring that is amplifying. So when you're in the bathroom, or the private space could be your hotel room, the private space could be your own home, where I documented the pattern of conduct in Alvarado Gardens at my apartment. That was a private space. A perpetual sex offense is what the state of California was documenting engaging in. I'm at a facilitating venue right now with the people of the state inside of the apartment. Okay, the private space remains the bathroom. And the entity is maintaining the elements of monitoring, aware of exactly what I'm doing as I'm doing it. In the same way that they know what I'm doing on the internet, in the same way that they know they're tracking my steps, which you are aware of through the fake sun, the ongoing cycle of engineered light inside of the apartment. The moment that I begin uploading, a helicopter is present, creating vibration of the apartment. And then you have a bunch of psychopaths that are looking to the left and right like nothing is going on, nothing to see here, folks. That's very highly psychotic. And this is the public safety concern, because the demon possessed are posing a threat to the lives of American citizens while they surround. And demon possession is not a rare circumstance. It's not an exceptional condition. It's very, very heavily present. The entire population in the state of California, as I've documented it, are group stalking. Group stalking is demonic activity. It is exclusive. Only demon possessed people are maintaining the elements of monitoring and group stalking. Period. You're not coincidentally in the specific environment engaging in elements of monitoring pursuant to what the target individual does, where they do it at the moment that they do it. Demons who are monitoring you, demons use people. The people of the state are demon possessed, and they are group stalking. And that includes the police departments, the sheriff's departments, the fire departments, the demons operating ambulances who are connected to hospitals where demons are remaining, by the way. So the entity is doing this, and I want to make sure the perpetual sex offense is what I documented. And the same entity, I want to be clear, the heavy-set Latina female, she is the people of the state living at apartment number 43. She's engaged in crossing a path. The relevant positioning aspect coming outside of your apartment is a means of the entity and the specific environment. It's removing any sort of basis of innocent or exceptional conduct. Every single thing that the entity is doing is serving to monitor you. That's why they're in the engineer light and under a fake sun. So this is removing the illusion that the demons are not, they're not under any circumstances persuading anybody. So you're looking at a demon that's pacing while they're holding a box, walking back and forth to their Amazon truck. They're pacing while they're walking back and forth with their kids in tow and bringing stuff in and out of the apartment. They're pacing while they are with a commercial brand on the side of their vehicle, working inside of a vacant apartment, and AVANATH Capital Management has hired them to work inside. They're group stalking. Period. Okay. So you're removing all of the superficial fluff and you're getting down to the bare bones elements, because that's what you're focused on. The elements, what is ongoing. And the entity is a violent sex offender, consumed with and knowledgeable about what's going on regarding your genitalia. All right. And that sort of mindset, that sort of purpose, that sexually perverted and predatory engagement in the elements of monitoring, even when you're not in custody of a phone, when you're not uploading videos onto the internet. Amplification is that which is occurring intentionally. Amplification meaning you're going out of your way to create an extraordinary loud method of audible activity. Why, when someone's genitalia is exposed, when their panties are down, or, you know, for males, when your boxers, whatever, when your briefs are down, what is the point of it at that moment? And that's understanding the sexual violent nature of group stalking by sex offenders who, by the way, derive gratification from torturing and from tormenting you and violating you, as they are also aware of the fact that you are documenting it. They will increase in the same way that the demons engaged in increased amplification of audible activity. As I was downloading videos from the Google Drive, that's what the demons do when they intend to sexually violate you, especially when they know that you are aware of it, meaning you're documenting it. That's within the P.O.C. So the psychopath that's group stalking via amplified audible activity and impossible light activity in the specific environment with the demons who stalk in planes and helicopters, they engage in more of that conduct of a sexual predatory nature. All right, to offend you. Okay, to violate your person, to psychologically torment you. Okay, that's the mens rea of a sex offender. Okay, that's currently in violation of existing state and federal laws. The conduct of a sex offender. The entity does so while they are demon possessed. The entity does so while it's engaging in a demonic system of federal group stalking and monitoring and federal stalking, employing demonic methods. It's no less sexually violent and predatory. It's very highly deranged, sexually perverted, and malicious. Okay, so this is what I want to speak to. I'm going to add on the video that I captured of the fake sun at the same environment. You will recall I documented the quote unquote sunrise at 7:18 in the morning. And this is the same property out standing in front of the same front door, apartment number 51, where the people of the state are inside of the apartment with me, engaged in ceaseless and ongoing communication of a threat to the life of an American citizen, doing so with impunity and malice with the government who's stalking in helicopters equals federal prison. Okay. And that's the people of the state that are group stalking at Woodside Senior Apartments inside of the apartment with me, which is a threat to your life. It's more of a threat to your life also while their mental illness is exposed. You are fully and severely mentally disturbed while you're group stalking using the appliances in your kitchen and pacing all around while you have multiple shadows. And you are desperately seeking and failing at looking like you're a normal person who's not targeting your own flesh and blood, trying to sacrifice them, a task that they failed at a long time ago, and yet they continue showing their mental illness, more so. The entity that is stalking in helicopter at the moment I begin uploading videos to YouTube is the same demon-possessed entity that's group stalking through the people of the state who are engaging in the ongoing maintenance of amplified audible activity, which is a violation of quiet enjoyment. It's in violation of their own policies that they're showing how this is not a normal population. And aside from that, even if these demons were quiet, And the entity, the state, in other words, provide the ongoing means of facilitation using planes and helicopters and trains. They are equally engaged in the elements of monitoring. What the people of the state are demonstrating is that the fact that they are demons, unilaterally demonstrating the fact that they are demon possessed, and they are intentionally maintaining elements, which is criminal monitoring. Domestic terrorism is criminal monitoring. The entity does it with absolute disregard for the consequences that you are literally going to sit in a federal cell for it. The entity does it on a minute by minute basis, ongoing maintenance of elements of monitoring with the state that provides evidence against them. The Ontario Police Department, the entire department, is going to be dealt with under federal law. They're going to be prosecuted. They will be dealt with. And so will the people of the state. And the entity provides evidence against the demons who are indeed the people of the state, employing their own methods of amplified audible activity with the criminal intent to harass, retaliate, intimidate, and terrorize while they're pacing all around in the specific environment and engineered light that's both inside of this apartment and all over the property. It's not sunlight that's all over the Woodside Senior Apartment Complex. That, in the same way that that's not the sun that will be stationary 11 hours later from the 7:18 a.m. documented sunrise, as I'm standing at the same front door. This is where the demons that Mike Lorenz, he's a leader, he's also a demon-possessed leader over a matter of what is public corruption, that the terrorist organization that needs to be removed from the guns that they bear, the badges that they wear, the helicopters that they fly for criminal purposes, and not to engage in any protection or service of the public. They don't even have authority under the law. They're engaged in surveillance in the state of California, and they're doing so maliciously and keeping an American citizen under surveillance while that American citizen is documenting it, and they knew every step of the way, every moment, and sought to continuously threaten the life of that American citizen. That's why Mike Lorenz is not exempted from not only removal from the position that he holds while public corruption of this size is occurring on his watch, but also criminal activity that he is engaged in as a state actor. Okay, the department, the Ontario Police Department, is engaged in a statewide pattern of conduct. You are engaged in that criminal conduct, while the helicopters, whom you are a chief of police over, are terrorizing, group stalking me in the apartment. Understand how Mike Lorenz is fully engaged in that. I know that demon's name. I can access his face today. He's fully engaged in it. So I just want to be clear. The entity is engaged in a pattern of conduct, and that's what I was documenting. You'll see it in writing and screenshots. But since the entity flew over in helicopter right now, I wanted to capture this podcast to detail the terrorism that the entity is engaging in. I'm capturing it in screenshots and images and in video, and I will add the video to this podcast. And so it's currently 7:25. Understand that this video was captured earlier at approximately 5:52 p.m. Let me verify that real quick. That is indeed accurate. The video is captured at 5:52 p.m. And again, the people of the state that are engaging in 24-hour surveillance by maintaining close presence is, again, Tracy Banks inside of apartment number 51. This is a malicious government actor. The threat that the people of the state, such as Tracy Banks, pose, these are the ones who you know personally, who are in your life, and they represent the state of California. And this is the entity that acts to criminally defame you and in their criminal effort to kidnap you, and also upon your being murdered or your loss of life. For example, the target individual, the entity engages in such issues of psychological torture, hoping that you take your own life. And under such circumstances, that target individual's blood is still on the hands of the entity, and it is an unlawful loss of life while state surveillance is underway. And the entities, such as Tracy Banks, these are the malicious demons, the psychopaths, the covert, closeted sex offenders who get on the news crying about how much they love their child, whom they were keeping under surveillance with the state, terrorizing with the state and the people of the state. Understand why demons, terrorists like Tracy Banks, are going to federal prison. Understand that. Okay, that's the malice of the entity, not different and not distinct from the demon who I don't even know her name, and she's fully engaged in threatening my life on a 24-hour basis because she never takes a nap. She's necessarily wearing a diaper, group stalking me in her living room directly above my head. All right, the entity is doing so. Again, her license plate is 5WUV as in Victor 715. And again, I saw another license plate, which is not what I originally saw. Nonetheless, I'm documenting both of them. 5WUB as in boy 715. She's going to federal prison. They represent the entity that's maintaining close proximity in the immediate environment. The entire state is group stalking. Okay, so the entity is engaging at 7:27 p.m. You will hear video evidence speaking to, again, the sunrise and sunset that one It's not just at one address. It's at the specific location where I'm at Woodside Senior Apartments. Okay. So there's 144 units. The fake sun is in alignment with where I am at apartment 51 at 7:18 in the morning, and setting in alignment with where I remain in apartment 51 after 6 o'clock in the evening. Today at 5:55, I believe that video ends. That is under all circumstances clearly never naturally occurring. There's never any sun that's going to be in Miami, Florida, with this sort of duration of time analysis, showing you the maintenance of what is not the natural environment, showing you demons who know every move that you're making inside of a private space, who are tracking your steps, whose criminal and sexually violent purpose is to molest your body with engineered light. And the entity is doing so as a population while a fake sun remains over your head and engineered light remains inside of the apartment, whatever space that you're inside of. And they are engaged in a 24-hour ceaseless threat to your life, conspiring and acting in furtherance of that conspiracy with the state to murder and kidnap you while psychologically torturing and terrorizing you, which again, the people of the state that's profiting, representing AVANATH Capital Management LLC, they're going to be civilly and criminally prosecuted. And that's just the basis of civil recovery. The federal prosecution of the state of California shall also be aimed toward deterrence, punishment, in order to address what is relevant regarding public policy, not only the criminal prosecution, but creating a public policy, the intolerable conduct that a public entity and this public corruption warrants. Okay, losing every dollar and the reputation and gaining a criminal record, and any ways in which the federal government can prosecute you up to and including federal prison. And even after that, deportation for those that aren't even natural born citizens. You're not even welcome in this country, engaging in this un-American barbaric conduct. Okay, those that have been given the privilege to be here. Okay, so that's how the population shall be prosecuted and shall be dealt with when you're engaging in domestic terrorism. It's literally un-American. People come to this country because they're supposedly free from that. Well, headline news is that in America, the American government is terrorizing American citizens. And then when you are enforcing your rights, like the Ontario Police Department, the Los Angeles Police Department, et cetera, as I documented the P.O.C., that American government intends to oppress you and silence you, terrorize and psychologically torture you more, as the demons demonstrate, just like the demons at Woodside Senior Apartments do. More amplification of audible activity. They increase and increase in frequency and increase in volume, increase in sensational conduct. The demons get louder and they roar more often the more you document. That's psychotic. Okay. And the ordinary target individual is reasonably fearful of it. The fact that I'm able to speak to it, to point it out, to detail it to you, to teach you about it, the ways in which and what you'll experience and what you see and how you can learn for yourself does not make me any less entitled to recovery. And I will prosecute to the furthest extent of the law, which you have a right to do under your constitutional rights and your human rights, while the entity is engaging in a demonic system. And it puts animals like the demon in 55 and the demon in 51 where they need to go, in cages. Because you want to live like an animal. You want to attack another like an animal. You want to be a sex offender, a closeted sex offender like an animal. You're going in a cage. All right. And the entity does so with impunity. That is, in other words, begging the federal government to put them in a cage. And it's not different while the animals are stalking you in helicopters. All right, that's the Ontario Police Department. It's currently 7:31 a.m. on Saturday, September 28, 2024, and this is P.O.C. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes, and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C., and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state. And it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. All right, it is currently 5:52 p.m. This is documentation of ongoing amplification of audible activity in the specific environment, which is identified through what is the sunrise on this side of the apartment in the morning at 7:18 in the morning, and this is 5:53 in the evening. This is where an entity that is demon possessed. It's very specific regarding the demonic environment. That's not the natural environment. So this is speaking to, again, the 10 plus 11 hours. The demon driving into the gate is monitoring. The demon driving on Vine Avenue is monitoring. The demon in the kitchen is monitoring. Okay, and impossible light activity that is not reaching underneath the structure into Tracy Banks' bedroom. She's engaged in terrorism and harassment as an entity engaged in federal stalking. This is a psychopath and a sex offender laying in her bed, monitoring me while I'm uploading videos onto the internet to publish online to prosecute the entire state of California. This is not the sun that will be at the same address where it's rising, and it's also not going to be at Holiday Inn in Hesperia where I'm uploading evidence from off the internet right now. It's called amplification under a fake sun, and that's the population that's group stalking with the demon in 55, with the demons that are creating ongoing earthquake-like conduct. And I want you to see, not only is this not the sun, this isn't sunlight that's going to appear on the inside, creating my shadow on the inside, as though the sun is going to ricochet off of the wood door frame and onto the wall on the inside. That's not sunlight. And there's also no sunlight that would be the product of the sun at the same address for 11 hours that's appearing underneath here. This is all shade. And you're looking at what is amplification, the maintenance of noise and impossible light activity. This is demonic. This is a demon that's group stalking inside of the apartment. That's federal stalking, harassment as an entity in AVANATH communities. Every resident, every vendor, everybody in relevant position, including the ones making money at 7-Eleven at 636 North Fern Avenue, are group stalking. Okay, that's relevant positioning, and the conduct is occurring inside. Opening and closing the refrigerator, opening and closing the microwave, walking back and forth to the trash can is a demon that's pacing. All right, and these are demons maintaining noise and engineered light, which is P.O.C. And they do so in concert with the demons, the terrorist organization, the Ontario Police Department, and the Ontario International Airport, where none of the demons are complaining about the fact that planes and helicopters are flying over the senior citizen complex, because they're fully engaged in maintaining that amplified noise together while they're group stalking. That's not sunlight. Okay, and that's the ability to identify a demon-possessed group stalker. It's documentation of what is impunity. That's not sunlight. It's present in the absence of the fake sun as well. In the morning, when the clouds are covering up the sky, it's not the natural environment. That's the identification of light activity, and this is impunity, and mental examinations are going to be required when you're going to federal prison. That's impossible, absolutely demonic. While sitting in, monitoring evidence on the phone. Okay, this is the P.O.C. It's currently, again, 5:55 p.m. This is the apartment where you're living at, where you're leasing at, where you're working at, where you're visiting, where you're delivering packages, where you're emptying the garbage, when you're flying over in planes and helicopters, where you're group stalking. All right, and this is understanding what a demon-possessed population is engaging in together as one. There are also sex offenders that engage in this very same conduct when my panties are down, also aware of what I'm doing physically, and that's identifying the perpetual sex offense by a demon-possessed entity that is obsessed with your genitalia, as equally obsessed with what you're doing, what you're publishing about their conduct. Whether you're blood related to that demon, or whether you are a part of the corrupt police department engaging in that state system, relying on the population. That's not the sun that's anywhere in Las Vegas, let alone in Los Angeles through my bedroom window, where I remain at this time as I documented working and living at Alvarado Gardens. It's also not creating any of the light that you see inside of this apartment. Okay, so Tracy Banks inside of 51, this is a malicious actor threatening my life and safety and well-being on an ongoing basis, with the ongoing deliberate purpose to do so, with a mentally deranged population engaging in that same criminal system, for which the entity will be going to federal prison. There's 144 units here, acting with the population